Don't tell me I don't know. We're here in the West, where everything is dirty dealing. I remember the time it happened near. I was lifted by grace, strength, and true smiling. And don't tell me I don't know. God's gone from this church, that the singing is empty and loud. In my youth I prayed, I heard his voice. I know the difference between smoke and a cloud. His face looked strange, lit by the bursting fireworks, as he walked through the smoky darkness towards us. I was familiar with his face in the open sunshine. This was a new beginning. The war was over. I could see that he was freed from the burdens of the past. He was caught up in the joyous celebrations. Yet there was a burden of the future in his eyes, for I could tell he was a leader. With a penetrating gaze and a true smile, he looked at me and asked if I was enjoying the festivities. But I was sitting on a step in front of my house, near the end of the street, close but yet so far from the events. I told him I would like to go to the center of town and be a part of the celebration, so I could remember it forever. Sitting next to me, he said it's actually better to watch it from a distance. It gives you a poet's view, and you see things no one else can see. Anyway, the cowboys are shooting off their guns, and it really isn't safe for children. He then added with a smile that we're all children again now. Let's hope we stay that way. He turned to my older sister, who blushed a bit. It was obvious he wanted her to join him in whatever plans were before him. Then some of his pals came out of the smoky street and called for him to come back with them. He excused himself and walked back into the cloud of lights and noise, saying he'd be back in a little while. I stared at the explosions, listened to the yelling and singing, and waited for him to come back from where he had disappeared. I looked up at the moon and thought that it would have been a clear, quiet night if not for all the ruckus. I laid my head on my sister's lap and perhaps slept a while when he touched my head and asked if I was asleep so soon. I immediately straightened myself and looked into those penetrating eyes. He was a leader and he was my friend. There was a bit of sorrow in his eyes that I did not understand, but it made me want to be his friend even more. I started to doze off again, and he lifted me to put me in my mother's arms. My mother remarked that I had fallen asleep without having said my prayers. He told her he would say them for me. Then he kissed my forehead and said something about dreams that I didn't quite catch. As my mother carried me to my room, I thought to myself, I am a daughter of the West. This is my beginning too, and I will also be a leader. Alone in my room, I could still hear the fireworks as I fell asleep for good. Don't tell me I don't know. We're here in the West, where everything is dirty dealing. I remember the time it happened near. I was lifted by grace, strength, and true smiling. And don't tell me I don't know. God's gone from this church, that the singing is empty and loud. In my youth I prayed, I heard his voice. I know the difference between smoke and a cloud.